She dazzled audiences as a Bond girl, enchanted millions as Dr. Quinn, and seemed to live a life of pure Hollywood glamour. But Jane Seymour's story hides a shocking truth. Behind the red carpets and flashing cameras, she lost everything: her home, her fortune, and nearly her career. At her lowest point, she even wondered if Hollywood had shut its doors on her forever. How did one of the brightest stars of her generation face such devastating collapse and rise again stronger than ever? Jane Seymour was born Joyce Penelope Wilhelmina Frankenberg in London in 1951. The daughter of a doctor and a nurse, she dreamed of acting from a young age, but few could have predicted the scale of her eventual stardom. Her breakout moment came in 1973 when she starred opposite Roger Moore as Solitaire in Live and Let Die. Overnight, she became one of the most recognizable Bond girls, her beauty and presence catapulting her into international fame. But unlike many who were typecast after appearing in the franchise, Seymour refused to be boxed in. Throughout the 1970s and 1980s, she built a diverse resume, appearing in films like Somewhere in Time alongside Christopher Reeve, and in television dramas that showcased her range as an actress. By the early 1990s, she had landed the role of Dr. Michaela Quinn in Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. The series became a global phenomenon, running for 6 seasons and cementing Seymour as a household name. From the outside, it looked like she had achieved every actor's dream: critical acclaim, commercial success, and the admiration of millions. Yet beneath the glamorous surface, Seymour was living through turmoil. In her personal life, she endured failed marriages and betrayals that left her emotionally drained. Worse still, her financial stability, something she had worked her whole life to build, was crumbling. Seymour would later admit that during these years, she was performing her roles with grace and professionalism while privately carrying the weight of devastating problems that no one could see. The perfect Hollywood image was just that, an image. The turning point came in the 1980s. Seymour had married businessman David Flynn in 1981, and at first their life together seemed like a dream. But behind the scenes, trouble was brewing. Flynn was involved in a series of risky business ventures, and Seymour, trusting her husband, signed documents that made her legally responsible for debts she hadn't created. When those ventures failed, Seymour was left with crushing debt. She later revealed that she lost nearly everything: her home, her savings, and even her sense of security. Speaking in interviews years later, she described it as the darkest moment of my life. At one point, she even found herself without a permanent place to live, relying on friends for help while trying to rebuild. The financial betrayal was compounded by the emotional collapse of her marriage. Seymour, who had always been seen as strong, elegant, and untouchable, suddenly faced the prospect of bankruptcy and obscurity. Hollywood, known for its unforgiving nature, wasn't offering her the safety net she needed. Work dried up, and she worried she would never again have the chance to prove herself. "I had lost my home and everything I owned," Seymour later admitted. "I was terrified I'd never recover." The combination of public image and private despair weighed heavily on her. On screen, she was dazzling audiences, but off screen, she was drowning in financial paperwork, lawyers' letters, and sleepless nights. It was a shocking fall for someone who had once seemed to embody effortless success. As if financial ruin weren't enough, Jane Seymour's life took another terrifying turn in 1988. While filming on location, she contracted bronchitis and was prescribed antibiotics. What seemed like a routine treatment quickly spiraled into disaster. Seymour suffered a severe allergic reaction that triggered anaphylactic shock. Her body shut down. For several minutes, she was clinically dead. Emergency doctors fought to revive her, and when she was resuscitated, Seymour later recalled the profound experience of being pulled back from the brink. "I saw a white light, and I felt myself leaving my body," she said in one interview, describing what became her most personal and transformative moment. This brush with death gave her a new outlook on life. It forced her to reevaluate what truly mattered. Not money, not fame, but family, health, and meaning. She credited this moment with helping her find resilience in the years that followed. Though the experience left her physically shaken, emotionally it became the foundation for her eventual comeback. It was also during this time that Seymour turned to art as therapy. She began painting, often late into the night, using it as a way to process her fears and grief. Those canvases, filled with bold colors and emotional intensity, reflected a woman fighting to heal and rebuild. Decades later, her artwork would be displayed in galleries worldwide, a creative outlet born from the darkest chapter of her life. In the aftermath of her personal and financial collapse, Jane Seymour had to start over. Hollywood is notorious for turning its back on actors after setbacks, especially women over 30, but Seymour refused to be erased. She accepted roles in television movies, some of which paid little but kept her visible in the industry. Slowly, she began to regain her footing. What truly turned the tide was her determination to embrace television, a medium that many film actors of the time avoided. Seymour saw it as her chance for redemption. In 1993, she landed the role of Dr. Michaela Quinn in Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. The series became a surprise success, drawing millions of viewers each week and running for 6 seasons. For Seymour, the show wasn't just a career revival, it was salvation. It brought her financial stability, restored her reputation, and gave her a platform to show her full range as an actress. The role also earned her a Golden Globe and cemented her legacy in television history. During this period, Seymour also leaned heavily on her role as a mother. Raising her children grounded her and reminded her that her worth was not defined solely by Hollywood. She often described family as her anchor, the one thing that kept her moving forward when everything else seemed lost. Jane Seymour's comeback in the 1990s carried enormous consequences for both her career and her public image. In Hollywood, her rise from financial collapse and near death was nothing short of extraordinary. Industry insiders who had once written her off were suddenly calling again, and she found herself busier than ever. Her role in Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, reshaped her reputation. No longer was she simply seen as the glamorous Bond girl of the 1970s. Instead, she became a household name for family audiences, admired for portraying a strong, compassionate female doctor in a male-dominated frontier. This shift resonated deeply with fans, many of whom reached out to Seymour personally. She often spoke about receiving letters from viewers who said her character inspired them to pursue medicine or face challenges in their own lives. The public reaction was overwhelmingly positive. Viewers didn't just see her as an actress, they saw her as a survivor, a woman who had endured devastating setbacks and found the courage to keep going. The Golden Globe she won for Dr. Quinn was not just an award for acting, it was validation of her resilience. At 84, Jane Seymour reflects on her darkest moment, not with bitterness, but with gratitude. The financial ruin, the betrayal, the terrifying brush with death, all of it, she says, taught her resilience. "I thought I had lost everything," she once admitted, "but in losing it, I found out what really matters." Today, Seymour balances her acting with her art, philanthropy, and family. She has dedicated much of her later life to charitable causes, particularly those focused on health and children, often drawing on her own experiences of struggle to inspire others. Her Open Hearts Foundation, named after one of her most famous jewelry designs, is built on the philosophy that if your heart is open, love will always find its way in. For fans, her honesty has made her more beloved than ever. She remains active in television and film, but perhaps her most lasting legacy is the example she sets. Proof that even when everything seems lost, there is always a way back. Thanks for watching. Click here to check another video and make sure to subscribe to our channel.